This is Narayana. Today my topic is pin diagram of 8051 microcontroller. So in last video I explained what are the features are there and what are the architecture of 8051, and now it is microcontroller pin diagram. Okay, let's see what is the pin diagram, how it looks like. Okay, then I will explain how many pins are there and what are the pin configurations. I will explain one by one pin. Okay, let's see. Okay, yes, this is the pin diagram of 8051. In this diagram, we have the four parts of positions like pins. It has a 40 pins. It will divided by four po- uh, four ports. Okay, every port will have some criterias, some importance of this pin configuration. Okay, if the P0, P1, P4 and sorry, P0, P1, P2, P3, these are the four ports. In every port we have 8 pins, and remaining pins have some ground pin and VCC. So these variable pins are there. I will explain what are the port 0, what is the use of port 0, and what is the use of port 1, what is the use of port 2, and what is the use of port 3. Okay, coming to this, we have four ports, which is P0, P1, P2, P3, where each port takes 8 pins. Okay, each port will take 8 pins, and we have the separate ground and remaining pins are there. Okay, reset pin. So these are the oscilloscopic pin, oscillator pins. Also the different pins are there. I will explain one by one and one by one port also. Okay, next, the pin configuration. Right here, the first thing is that the pin diagram of 8051 microcontroller consists of how many pins? 40 pins, as shown in below and as shown in the diagram. A total of 32 pins are set away into the four ports. Okay, in these 40 pins, 32 pins will set it as a four ports, which is P0, P1, P2 and P3, where each port contains 8 pins. Okay, every port will contain 8 pins. And port port 1, it contains port 1, pin 1 to pin 8. In port 1 includes pin 1 0 to pin 1 7, and these pins can be configured as a input or output pins. For example, in this port 1 we can use input pins or output pins, because we can give the input to the microcontroller and we can take the output of microcontroller. We can use these port 1 pins. His dedicated input output pins can function has be general purpose pins, also general purpose IO pins, because uh, these general these general purpose pins will be used in different outputs or different configurations also. Okay, next one, reset pin. We have ninth pin as a reset pin. It input to reset to the microcontroller or active high signal has a high pulse reset the devices. Okay, here I will explain you what is the use of ninth pin. It is a reset pin. For example, you are dump the code into 8051. Okay, when we dump the 8051, after that what we are doing, we are resetting the pin, right? What is the pin we are using? Ninth pin we are using to reset the 8051 microcontroller. Okay, next, it will have active high signals. Okay, when we are when we are dumping to the program, it will have some another for what you say that in another program, uh, in when we dumping the program, in that program we have some issues, right? Some voltage issues, some different types of issues are there generating. So to overcome that issues, 1 minute, wait a 1 minute. Yes, in 8051 we have used in ninth pin has a reset pin. So from this ninth pin we can restart the 8051 microcontroller when we dump the code. So this is the use of ninth pin. Next, coming to port 3. Okay, in this port 3 we have the multifunctional pins, right? Multifunctional pins can be functionally as a general purpose IO pins also. We can use input output pins also. For example, if the port 3 we can use input pins and output pins, and also we can use as a special multifunctionality pins. Okay, in these multifunctionalities we have the different, okay, we have the different or alternate functions. For example, pin 3, okay, port 3 zeroth pin is a serial input pin. Okay, serial input pin or receiver pin. Okay, next, pin 1, port 3 pin 1 is a serial output pin, or we can use as to transmitter pin. Okay, next, pin 2, pin 2 is an input. Okay, external interrupt. What are the interrupts? For example, when we are giving to instruction, when we give the 8051 has to do one to print 100 pages. Okay, it will printing the 100 pages. For example, we have to stop and print another page as to first. What we will do, we are interrupting, so it will interrupt. For example, to give that instructions we use the external interrupts in pin 2 and pin 3. Next, okay, next, here fourth pin is a timer. Timer, external input. Okay, we can use timer 0, timer 1, timer 2. For example, we are printing 100 pages, we are set the time to print these 100 pages from this time to this time. Okay, this type of instructions we can give in timers. Okay, we can use fourth pin and fifth pin. Next, sixth pin, in write a signal from external memory. For example, we are accessing the memory to 8051. Okay, when we are giving the instructions or we can write some content to the memory, we use sixth pin. And when whatever we write to read that memory, to read the data or memory from with the help of pin 7. Okay, these are the port 3. Next, port 3, here see, the I will give the clarity of one by one pin and what are the uses of that pins also. Okay, next, the port 3 pins are similar to a port 1 pins and can be used as a universal input or output pins. These pins are dual functionality pins, and the function of each pin is given as. Okay, I will explain you clearly. In last pin is ninth pin is a reset pin. So coming to 10th pin. Okay, in this 10th pin is a RxD. RxD means here, okay, receiver pin. Receiver pin. Receiver serial pin is a serial asynchronous communication input or serial synchronous communication output. It will gives, it will follows the serial. Asynchronous means it will follows serially and it does not depends on a time. Okay, it will does not depends on time. It will take the input and it will gives the output with serial synchronous communication. Means here output will come particular time. This is the 10th pin configuration. Okay, next, 11th pin. 11th pin is a name. RxD means here transmitter pin. Okay, when whatever the transmitter will transmit the data to collect with 11th pin. Okay, the serial asynchronous communication output or serial synchronous communication clock output. Here I said right, synchronous means it will follows clock signal. Okay, it will use asynchronous communication. For example, you given the data to the pin 11. Okay, it does not involve the clock signal and it will directly enter to the present working scenario, and it will gives the serial communication to the clock, and it will gives the output to the sorry, it will gives output to the your 11th pin. Okay, next pin is 12th. It is an interrupt, input interrupt 0. Okay, these are one of the interrupt pin. I said in friend I said that one example also for that interrupt. Okay, next pin 13 is an input interrupt for 1. For example, interrupt 1, interrupt 0, interrupt 1. Okay, it will generates to interact with in between the functionality, in between the functionality of 8051. So these two pins are used to interrupt or are inbuilt to the 8051 microcontroller functionalities. Okay, we can disturb the microcontroller functionalities. Okay, in pin 14, input of counter means counter. Here counter means is a clock signal. It will has clock signal. We can add some time and to add the delay of the process, and also we can fast the present working scenario. Also we can change the time signals. Okay, T0 and T1. Here 16th pin is a writing signal to write the content on external RAM. Here we use that to write external content. For example, we give to um print 100 pages of data. Okay, your microcontroller 8051 has to print 100 pages of data. We given only. Okay, but you want 150 pages. What you do, we have to interrupt. Okay, your work is going on, we have to interrupt through interrupt pin. Okay, we can give the command to print more than again 50 pages to the extern to the 8051. Okay, you given a command, you interrupted, and we added 50 pages. What we have to do? Sorry, what we have to do? Through 16th pin we can write external 50 pages of data to RAM, external RAM, and we can add it to the present scenario for this 16th pin. Okay, next what is the 17th pin? Reading the signal to read context contents of external RAM. Yes, sorry for that. uh, In pin 17, what we do? Reading the signal to read contents of external RAM. What is it means? Means whatever we write in the external RAM, we can read or we can take the data from pin 17. Okay, next one. Okay, pin 18 and 19. Okay, here pin 18 and 19, X2 and X1 pins are input output pins for the oscillator. These are the oscillator pins. Means when we have to, for example, we will give the command to print 100 pages of data. Yes, same example I am taking and I explaining you. Okay, when we give the command to print 100, okay, 100 pages to your 8051 microcontroller. Okay, and we put a time to 10 minutes. Okay, after 10 minutes we have to take some 10 minutes delay and again we have to print 100 pages of data. So this type of oscillating means here continuously. Okay, continuously we have to print the pages of data. So these two pins are used to these pins are used to connect internal oscillators of the microcontroller. What are the internal structures? What you giving to the command from the microcontroller, it will continuously follows. Okay, input to the okay here XL1 XTAL1 and XTAL2 has the pins of 18 and 19, contains for the crystal oscillator. What are the crystal oscillators we have used means oscillo oscillator amplifiers. Okay, what are the amplifiers you are using? What are the contents? Means amplifier means here we have to adding the signals. Okay, high signal and low signal. So this type of high input data and low input data to use this to use to print that to use that 8051 microcontroller, to use these two pins 18 and 19 pins are used to oscillator. Okay, next 20th pin. 20th pin is a ground pin. Okay, in this ground pin we have to put into ground. Okay, next port 2 pins are 21 to 28 pins. Okay, this port includes the 20 pin 21 to 28, which can be configured as a input output pins, but there is only possible when we do not use any external memory. If you use external memory, then these pins will work as a high order address bus. For example, your 8051 will have 32 GB. Okay, your project is also in less than 30 GB data only. So for example, if you use more external data, for example, you have uh, sorry, your 8051 is 32 GB only. Okay, please consider that your 8051 is 32 GB, but your project need 64 bytes of data, that 64 GB data. For what you do, we are connecting external memory and using your 8051 microcontroller. In that time, in when we are adding the external memory, your port 2 will act as an address bus. Okay, your pins are act as an address bus to the that external memory. So we can use as an 8 bytes of address bus, which is A1, A2, A8, A9, A10, A11, A12, A13, A14, A15. These are the address buses to the 8 port 2. Okay, these are the 8 address buses are there. Next, pin 29. In this pin, we is used to enable the external program memory. Whatever the external program memory we are using, it can be enabled. Okay, it can be enable the external programming memory. If you use an external ROM for storing for for storing the program, the logic 0 appears on it, which indicates that microcontroller. Okay, which indicates that microcontroller to read the data from memory. When we are giving when we are using to 29th pin, it will enable the external programming memory, and when we giving the logic 0, it appears to read the data. Means this pin will indicate to 8051 to read the data from memory when we are using this 29th pin. Next, pin 30. What is the use of this pin 30 means? This pin 30 address latch enable means, here address latch enable means when we are using to address or external memory, it will enables that address latch, and pin activated the high output signals. For example, amplifier will generate the high amplitude signals, so it will activate high output signals if we use the multiple memory chips. I said right, external memory we are using. So means external memory chips. These then these pins are used to distinguish between them. Distinguish means here we have to collaborate with distinction between them means here collaborating that two external memory and internal memory we are using. So this pin also gives the programming pulse input during the programming of EEPROM. When whatever the external memory you are using, this external memory will attach it to EEPROM and it will generate the programming pulse input. Next, pin 31 is if you have to use the multiple memories, then application of logic 1 to this pin inserts the microcontroller to read the data from both memories. First external and then first internal and then external memory. What is the use of this 31 pin means? When we are using these two memories, right? External memory you are using and internal memory you are using. So when we are using these two memories, if you apply the multiple memories, right? When we are using these multiple memories, we have to application of logic 1. For example, if we give the logic 1, it will instruct that it will instruction send to the microcontroller. What is the what instruction it will send? It will send the instruction logic 1, and whatever the microcontroller will understand to that instruction to read the data from both memories. What are the microcontroller memory are there, that memory, and when we connecting the external memory, right? So these external memory data, so both the data we have to read by using of 31 pin. Okay, next coming to port 0, this is the dual purpose pins. For example, because he has dual purpose pins means when we are address or data, so external memory access the functionality general purpose when we not accessing the external memory also. For example, it is a dual pin because it will act as a address bus and data bus during the external memory accessing. For example, you are accessing the external memory, right? So in that time also it will act as data bus and also address bus. It will depends upon your it will depends upon your flexibility. For example, all the pins are over to read your input output functionalities, but only port 0 have only 4 pins to use. What you are doing in this port 0 will support input output pins and address pins and data pins. So these are the very flexible to the port. Okay, functionals has general purpose IO pins, then not accessing the external memory. For example, if you are not accessing external memory, it will also useful for general purpose only. So input output pins also it will work. Okay, next. Okay, port 0 I will explain you one by one. Okay, pin 32 similar to that port 2 and port 3 pins, 2 and 3 pins. These pins can be used as a input output pins when we do not use any external memory. When we do not use any external memory, it will act as an input output pins. When ALE, arithmetical logical erasable memory, EPROM or pin 30 is at 1. I said that pin 30 is a logic 1. Then this port is used as a data bus. When we are giving the logic 1, when we giving the logic 1, it will act as it will act as this port will act as what data bus. Okay, it will transmit the data from microcontroller. When ALE pin is at 0, for example, ALE pin is 0, then this port is used to lower order address bus. It will act as it will take the address from microcontroller. Okay, next we have pin 40 is a power supply pin. Okay. And last pin is a 40th pin. It is a power supply pin or VCC pin. Whatever the voltage we use to in 8051 microcontroller means 5 volts only. 5 volts power supply input we are using. In this VCC pin used to power supply only. Okay, so guys, these are the 40 pins we are using 8051. Okay, this is the diagram of 8051 pin configuration. Okay, if you have any doubts on this pin configuration, please message me in comment box. I will reply you as soon as possible. Okay, thank you for watching my videos. Okay, thank you for your support. And whatever who are seeing first in my videos, please like, share, uh, comment and subscribe my channel. Thank you for your support, guys.